A team of senior lecturers at the University of Otago are calling for a contraceptive program for teenagers. They say long-acting reversible contraception should be available to youth before they become sexually active. Dr. Helen Paterson is involved and she's here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, what kind of contraception are you talking about?
So long-acting reversible contraception is either implants or intrauterine devices. In New Zealand we've got 3 types.
And how do they work?
So mostly the way that they work is by stopping the sperm getting to the egg. So that's the main effects of them.
Okay, and then this is a physical device that you can physically insert?
So 2 of them in New Zealand are intrauterine devices. So one's got hormone on it and the other copper, and so they go into the womb, and then the other is an implant which goes underneath the skin in the upper arm.
Oh gosh, and is the copper safe for use in a body?
Yes, very safe, except for people who are allergic to copper, who obviously that would be contraindicated in.
So that's one of the side effects. Are there any others?
There are side effects, as with any medication, but the main thing is that those side effects are much less than pregnancy, and that's obviously what we're trying to protect against.
Are these things currently available in New Zealand?
Yes, so in New Zealand we have 2 forms of intrauterine device, the Mirena and the copper at CU380A, I think they now call it. They've just changed it to a 10-year device, and Jadel, the implant. Around the world there's a lot more options than that, but those are the ones that we have.
Apart from the obvious, what are the other benefits of contraception like this?
So apart from protecting against unplanned pregnancy, of which they have a 0.5 failure rate versus the pill at 9%. If you look at intrauterine devices, they do give other benefits. So they, for instance, will reduce in some situations bleeding. For instance, the Mirena intrauterine device reduces the amount of bleeding by 85%. So if you've got heavy periods, they're great. But also, there is some evidence of reduction of some forms of cancer, for instance, uterine cancer.
Oh gosh, that's actually quite a bonus.
Yes.
So what evidence is there to support widespread use?
In adolescence, if you look at the use, there's been a big program that came out in the US. They looked at informing teenagers about LARC and giving them the option, and 70% of them chose to use a long-acting reversible contraceptive versus something else. There's many places in the world where they are freely available, the UK being one, but not necessarily easily accessible.
What do the critics say about it?
So I think that the critics mostly have not actually heard what we're saying. We are not suggesting a mandated compulsory program. What we're suggesting is that we make it easy and accessible, universal free opt-out with a sex education program, which is really important. We're not saying don't use condoms, we're just saying use them for sexually transmitted infections, not for contraception.
And there's also been talk of an opt-out program. Why is that recommended?
Yeah, so the benefit of opt-out is it's easy, it's accessible, and it's non-stigmatizing, because you're allowing access for everybody rather than just for those people who are turning up for it.
What is the main barrier to this particular program being implemented?
Well, in New Zealand, probably the main barrier at the moment would be cost, but we do have to look at that, and we're going to do further research looking at the ethics, what a program should in detail look like, and also looking at cost benefit from an economic standpoint.
Now, you've mentioned that it is available, this kind of contraception is available elsewhere in the world. How do they get on with it? I mean, do they know that numbers of pregnancies, unplanned pregnancies have been reduced? Is the cost not prohibitive?
There's a program that was instituted in Baltimore schools, and they reduced their rate by 1/3 of unplanned pregnancy in adolescents. And if you look in the rates around the world, the US and New Zealand are the top 2 in the world, so we're not doing all that well in terms of adolescent pregnancy rate. And I'm sure that if you look in places where it's freely accessible, then you're going to have lower rates because of that.
Dr. Helen Paterson from the University of Otago, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.